Hi, I'm Beth Ann.
What's up? I'm Ayla.
This is Let's Talk BL, a Boys Love podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are super excited, as we always are, never not excited, always living life at a 10. What can I
Always
say?
having fun.
Always having so much fun. Today, we have another guest, and this is going to be really, really fun because I live on TikTok these days. Basically, it's where all the best BL content is. If you're not getting your BL content from TikTok, like you're doing something wrong because the variety, the vibe, the aura, it's just all so good. So today we have one of our TikTok friends who I think floats some of the best theories in all of BL TikTok, which is why I think that this person is perfect for today's episode. Today we have Tarah here with us.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
We're super stoked that you're here.
Yes, we're so excited. Before we get started on today's topic, we want to get to know you a little bit better. So we're going to do a little get to know you questions. Our first question, how did you get into BLs?
So actually there's kind of two different ways that I got into it. So first got into it when I was about 13, 14 with fan fiction, anime, manga. So I've been in it for quite a while. And then when we're talking about dramas, I actually got into those in summer of 2020. So about a year ago now, with when I found Sodas on Netflix, and then it just kind of went down from there.
Man, I feel you. That's exactly how it happened for me.
Not Sodas though. I kind of wish I had started with Sodas no, I started with Trapped and that was perfect. But once I did finally watch Sodas, I was like, this is a gem.
Whenever I find I have like a whole list whenever I have a baby BL fan who's like, I want to watch these, but I don't know where to start. I'm like, here is my list. This is what I recommend to everyone. Sodas always being the very first one because I feel like it's just a good simple one to start off with.
I mean, It was the first one that came out in Thailand, right?
No, Lovesick in 2015 was the first series.
But Sodas was the one that got big.
Sodas was one of the ones that got bigger, but it still really wasn't the biggest one because really a lot of people, well, if you're talking in general, Love of Siam, which is a movie, was what really kind of exploded everything. And then Lovesick was the first series.
Right.
And the first full-length series, and that kind of spread everything. Sodas was one of the bigger ones. Sodas was the one that started a lot of the tropes and trends in BL that we see today, like engineering and that kind of thing.
All those things.
Was Sodas GMMTV's first one? Is that maybe where that's coming from? Was it their first full BL series?
It was their first full BL series. They did have other series that had BL storylines as secondary characters, because actually Off Gun were the first because they were part of the show Puppy Honey. Where they had their BL storyline. But if I remember correctly, Sodas was GMMT's first BL series.
Interesting. And now GMMTV is the SM of BL world. I always explain it. Yeah, Thai BL world. Yeah, for sure. It's so funny when I try and explain GMMTV to people who don't like K-pop, because my go-to is it's like SM, but the other day I explained it, I was like, I don't know, it's like if NBC had a whole genre of,
I was gonna say, I usually tell people ABC, because how ABC will have ABC, it had ABC Family, now it has Freeform, had all of those ones, it was connected with Disney Channel, so it'd be that's how you have GMMTV, GMM25, GMMBL, GMM Music, all of that.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay, so we found you through TikTok, through your excellent BL content. So how did you start making BL content to put on the internet?
Really, it was because it was definitely something when I got into BL that I honestly did not even consider putting on TikTok, just because, growing up, or like when I was really getting to BL, it was not something you talked about. It wasn't even something you talked about to your closest friend, let alone putting it out with your face all over the internet. But then I had spent a few months watching other TikTok creators, and I'm someone who's very opinionated. I have very strong views, and I like to voice those views. So I started putting them on TikTok, honestly, not really expecting to go anywhere. I just needed, like, I had no one to talk to about it. So I just wanted like a void to talk into. And I figured, like, what's the worst that happens? Someone disagrees with me or no one watches. That's fine. I'm making this like for me to just get my thoughts and angers and feelings out there. So that's actually how I started making them, and then people caught an interest, I guess.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that we've heard from starting this is that like nobody has anyone to talk to about this, and we just like want to be that outlet that like kind of starts that community. I feel like that's true of like anybody who puts content out there, that they have a need in their own life and they're like, somebody out there has to be into the same thing.
Right.
And there usually is.
Yeah, we also just wanted to yell into the void, like
instead of yelling at each other.
Like, I was like, not enough people know about Yin War, and so like I just need to talk about it because I have a lot of very strong feelings about war. So like, yeah, we also wanted to just yell into the void, and then yeah, lo and behold, we have all of these new like friends and people that want to talk to us and have all these strong opinions, and we're like, who knew? Like, where were you?
It's so fun. It's so fun. Okay, 2 more things that we really just think is so interesting. What is your favorite series?
My favorite series overall is I Told Sunset About You.
Nice.
That one is hands down my favorite.
Oh, so good. And your favorite ship?
Max Tool.
Nice.
Absolutely.
An OG, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is so funny because they are not the oldest, but I find that people constantly are like, they're the OG. Like
they even say that, how it's really interesting how they are referred to as a senior Y couple.
Yeah.
And they're like, there are people who even came before us, but it's like they are one of the oldest ones that are still around.
Right.
And that are still working together, because really the only other couple that is still like actively working together, like Boom and Peak, have more that's going to be coming out soon, because they're pretty old, they're older. And then you have, I mean, Kim and Copter were technically came out around the same time, but they weren't like doing a whole lot series wise together.
Right.
Or a really Off Gun is, I think, technically the oldest, because I think they got partnered pretty early and they're still working together. But like the first couple, like Captain and White, they don't do anything shipped wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Ever since Lovesick ended.
Yeah, Max Tool are so funny because I always forget how like young they are actually, like their physical ages, because I really do feel like they have big like old man energy. Like I can see them just like sitting on a front porch arguing with each other about something stupid. Like they have such like almost dad energy.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, Tool is 28. He's about to be 29.
Right.
And Max is 26. But yeah, no, they definitely have like that dad energy. But then also Max has baby fever like crazy. He's constantly posting like the cutest pictures and the cutest videos of kids on his Instagram. Like it's like the dad energy is definitely there.
I also feel like they're one of the healthier couples because they have such sweet chemistry together. But then I'm also okay with Max like getting married and having children, and Tull just is like, you know, his on-screen boyfriend. Like I'm cool with that.
I think they definitely have a bond that's very much their own. Yeah. And they're very real with each other, and like they don't play anything up. Like they've said multiple times that they don't play anything up. Nothing that they do is fan service. It's literally because that's just what they want to do. Like how they act around each other is how they normally after out each other, even in private. It's just who they are.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing about them too, is you can see how genuine they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the attraction to them too.
Yeah, love them. I will say, like, Max and Toller, like, golden standard. Like, one day, if we ever get actors here, like, I need them because the energy is just so pure and
They
fun.
want to. They were
Obsessed.
asked not too long ago, like, if they could do anything really in their careers, what is one thing that they want to do? They said they want to do a world tour.
Cute.
They want to do like a world fan tour at some point.
Oh my gosh, that is the ultimate goal, is to host a Max Toll fan meeting.
Yeah, let's crowdfund it. Everyone get together. Everyone send $1. We're gonna start a GoFundMe.
100.
We can pay their appearance fees. It's fine.
You know, when Tool is here next year for Columbia, we just got to get Max over. It'll be great.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna do.
It'll be so cost effective, guys. It'll be great.
Oh my gosh, for sure. We'll just have to figure out how much like the Beacon is and just rent that out and fly Max over.
We'll crowdfund this. It's going to be fine. Like, we'll get some angel investors. We got this.
Absolutely.
Oh, so good.
Okay, let's get into what we're really here to talk about, which is a super interesting topic. And again, Tarah, because of all your theories and like how you talk about series, I was like, yes, Tarah will know and understand. So I'm really excited about this because it's going to be really interesting, but also because this is actually listener suggested. And so I love when that happens, because then it's like, I know we're going to talk about stuff that people care about. Maybe controversial. Please don't fight us. Please don't come for us. These are just opinions. Today we are talking about the most underrated and the most overrated BL series. And so the inspiration for this, and this listener was explaining to me like why she wanted to hear this. She said to me, she was like, yeah, I don't have anybody to talk to about BL, and I feel like I have watched all of the big ones, and some of them were kind of disappointing, and now I don't have anything else to watch, and I don't know how to find new ones. So it would be cool if you guys could do like an episode of like a bunch of underrated ones that you like. And I was like, solid, and we took that and ran with it, and I get that. So I'm excited about this because maybe cause some controversy, but all with like peace and love. I don't know how else to preface that.
Yeah. We'll also preface it by saying, kind of like what you were talking about, where you watch the big ones and some of them are disappointing. It's not that like we dislike any shows, because honestly, there's no show that I would be like, I hate this show, I will never recommend it to anyone. Honestly, I would tell everyone that gets into BLs, literally watch all of them.
Yeah.
Just to like form your own opinion, just like anything, guys. Like, form your own opinion.
Because I will get people who ask me on my page, like, what are some BLs that you just absolutely hated? What are some BLs that you will never recommend? And I always make a point, like, I actually always say, like, I'm never going to call a BL, like, I never use the word underrated, because that's so subjective. And what's underrated, like, just because it didn't meet my expectations or just because I wasn't a fan of it, doesn't mean that someone else is not going to be a fan of it. And I never want me saying, well, I didn't really like it, to then influence someone to not watch it. And they could have loved it. It could have been their favorite one. And now they're not watching it because they trust my recommendations.
Yeah.
And they're missing out on something they might have really, really loved. So I definitely see that. I definitely think there's like a language thing in there, where I think there's a difference by saying like, this did not meet my expectations, or this just wasn't for me, versus saying, no, that was bad. No, that wasn't good. No, that's overrated. No, that's, whatever. So.
Yeah. And I think that, so just another little disclaimer, and then we will jump into it. A lot of it, like you said, is so subjective about like what you loved, and who kind of like, we were talking earlier about, we just want to shout into the void. It's like, a lot of times you find things that you love so much and you can't find other people talking about them. So you think, oh, this must be so underrated, because like, why is no one talking about it? It deserves so much more love than it's getting. So it could be that maybe we're going to like find our new niche of friends that are like, yes, I feel you. So we're going to find out.
Yeah, that definitely happened with Ayla and I, where I haven't loved a series, but I will say, Ayla, you should definitely watch this. And she'll watch it and be like, you were so wrong. This is my favorite series. I love it so much. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Like, we have different loves. Or I'll be like, Ayla, you really need to watch this series. And she's like, no, this looks dumb. And then she watches it and she loves it.
But to be fair, some of these series are a little bit harder to find when we think about the word like underrated, because first of all, there is a language barrier, right? We're talking about series that are produced in languages that we may not necessarily speak or read or write. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also, especially recently, a lot of these are web dramas that, you know, you may not necessarily run across if they're airing on YouTube, if they're coming from like a smaller studio or a newer studio. So I think there is a lot of merit in especially these underrated lists, but I think overrated is just going to be fun to talk about and hear opinions. Because I am really excited to share some that I feel like just don't, if I look at their view count, I'm like, these views should be higher, people. Why are these views not higher?
Yeah. True. Okay, Tarah, you start us off. What is your first underrated series?
What deserves more love?
Honestly, I think one of my first underrated ones is the Taiwanese Because of You. Because hands down, like even after everything that I've watched, Because of You is still my favorite Taiwanese series. And I feel like no one talks about it.
No.
Like, I haven't seen it.
I've seen it, but I don't remember much of it.
I think that's a lot of it is, and that's when it comes to like a lot of, and then it's like, I've noticed that like a lot of on my list, it's not that I don't think they're necessarily underrated, because everyone that I've talked to, like so many people that I've talked to, like if they watched it, they really, really liked it. Or like it was just kind of forgettable. But there's not a lot of people who actually watched it, is what I'm finding out.
Yeah.
But Because of You, I don't know what it is about that series, but like it's one of those where every time I watch it, I'm absolutely in love. And then I'll find a new series, or like I'll start a different Taiwanese series and I'm like, this one is my favorite. Like when We Best Love came out, I was like, this is the one. This one is my favorite. Yeah, absolutely. And then I went back and rewatched Because of You and I'm like, no, it's still Because of You. Because of You is still my favorite. So I think that's probably
so good. What is it available on? Is it Viki?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ayla, you should definitely watch it. I need to go rewatch it because it has like this fun little Korean like storyline that's really actually kind of funny. I find that with the Taiwanese Bls, the history series just like really kind of overpowers everything else that's out there.
Absolutely.
I watched Craving You and I really liked it, but yeah, I just don't go back to it. I'm like, oh, I'd rather go watch like Make Our Days Count minus episode 12 or
we don't know her.
Actually another one on my underrated list was Craving You. That was another one on my underrated list because it's so good. And I feel like not a lot of people have actually watched it.
I just feel like I haven't watched. I haven't watched that one either. I just feel like I haven't watched enough Taiwanese ones because I'm thinking about my underrated list and they're all Thai or Korean for me. Because when I was thinking through like, okay, which ones do I really just feel like need more love? In my brain, I was like, all the Taiwanese ones, I feel like get a lot of love. I am so into We Best Love. I think it's just a gem of a series. Both seasons. Super excited about this new script being developed. And so that and the histories, and I feel like there are a couple histories that I wasn't into, but they all get attention, right? It's not that they're underrated. Right. And so I feel like I just haven't seen enough because, Beth Ann, to your point, I'm like, oh, there's history and We Best Love. Like there are all the histories and then and then like, that's that. And so I think, the Taiwanese ones are such a good one to shine a spotlight on because it's at least educational for me.
Yeah, honestly, if I had to choose like a favorite country, because every country has like their own directing style, storytelling style, cinematography style, all acting style. If I had to choose between like my favorite countries, it would be Japan or Taiwan. Those are where my favorite BLs come out of.
I agree. I think just the Taiwanese BLs are so well done. I'm big on storytelling. That's my, like, I don't care how beautiful the couple is. I don't care like how well produced it is. I don't care how big the star is. I am really, really like, there has to be a story there for me. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for me to stick it through.
Right. Yeah.
And the storytelling, I would say, just like exceeds expectations in every single Taiwanese drama I've seen. And again, admittedly, that's not a ton, but in all of them, the storytelling, whether it was a story I liked or didn't like, the storytelling was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I am going to say for my underrated, the first one is Ingredients.
Yes.
I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough. Jeff and Gameplay are truly wonderful. It's such a simple series. Like, honestly, it's, you know, a web drama. It feels very commercial because it was like produced by basically, I think, for a grocery store. I would just call it simple and not in a bad way. I watched it in a weekend. I so remember that weekend. I cried. Like, this show is wild that it makes you cry, but I cried because Jeff and Gameplay bring Thompson, like, they truly bring such reality to Thompson Marwin that you're just like, you get so attached to these boys and you're just watching their daily life. Like, it's almost presented like a reality show. It's so
they have great chemistry. Jeff and Gameplay have great chemistry. Yeah, I laughed. I cried. I was angry. I got so mad at a specific part of that show.
Yeah.
But I think what I love about Ingredients especially is that, like, it's so good and you get so into it. But I saw this like joke on Tumblr about it where somebody's like, Ingredients has everything. It has like and they listed out like all these tropes, and they listed out like just it has everything you want out of a BL. And then they're like, but if you pay attention closely, it's been 18 episodes and nothing has happened. And I was like, that is so accurate.
Which is the fact that it's able to draw you in with just the absolute mundane is really a testament to like the storytelling. And then also like there's just something about Jeff and Gameplay that just draws you in, because the first thing, which is another one that was on my list for underrated, is their he she it, their short.
That's on my list too. That's like the number one on my list.
That was my first like intro to Jeff and Gameplay, and I thought they did amazing. And then also when you're looking at them in he she it and then them in Ingredients, just the duality that both of them have is such a skill.
Yeah, he she it was number one on my list, so I guess we can move into that now because that's my number one underrated one.
Oh my gosh, Ayla and I watched he she it together, and we like screamed at the screen the whole time.
I watched Ingredients first, so I knew Jeff and Gameplay like as Win and Tops. Like I knew that character. Got super into both of them just like as people because they're really good on social media. Both of them are solid on social media. And so then to go watch He She It, which if anyone has not seen He She It, first of all, go watch it. The views are not high enough. But second of all, it's like if you've seen, okay, here's what I would liken it to. If you have seen He's Coming to Me, imagine He's Coming to Me, but like after dark and spookier and like shorter. And like hella spicier. Just like, imagine like that is the closest thing I can liken it to because there's nothing else like He She It. It is, and it makes you think about it afterwards.
Well, there is more coming out now. More like horror BLs are starting to come out. Like there was it's an older Chinese one, but I just dropped recently on Gaga Ulala. It's not really horror. It's like a cheesy, like old vampire flick is what it looks like. Yeah. It's called Bite Fight, but it was really, really good. I loved it. And there was one by the Korean studios, a short by the Korean studios, Strongberry. It was called Sweet Curse. Was another horror one that just recently came out. That one's available on Vimeo, and that one is also really good. So more and more are starting to come out. And then Onasorn wants to make a slasher one so bad. I keep trying to get him to watch He She It, and I still don't think he's done it.
No, okay, watch. Okay, yeah, here we'll like I don't know, clip this, and everybody plead. because I need this. Yeah, you have to watch He She It if you're gonna make a slasher BL.
Absolutely.
Because honestly, to this day, so it's 3 episodes. Is that right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, He
it's
She
3
It.
episodes. Yeah, and I will. So it's something that short has this big of an impact on every single one of us. First of all, like it must be good. But second of all, I swear to this day, anytime like if me and Beth Ann will be just like sitting in a room and we'll hear a noise, or it'll be like literally the night we watched this, there happened to be a thunderstorm that night. Like anytime anything happened, like something shifted in the room or there was a loud noise outside, we would both look at each other and be like, "Ghost game, he's here."
Gameplay's range as an actor is truly astounding because you fall in love with him as this sweet, like lovely, goofy boy in Ingredients. And then in He She It, you are absolutely terrified of Ghost Game.
Well, I don't think people realize he's actually been an actor for a number of years.
Yeah, he was in Lovesick 2.
Yes. That's where he
was
started.
like his first, with like people that you know, right? Like Top Tap and like
Top
people
Tap,
you know,
Smile.
but that you may, but then like there's also gameplay and he's actually amazing.
He's so solid. Oh, yes, that's amazing.
So funny. I'm so glad there's overlap there. Like we all agree across the board. Love that.
Okay, what else you got, Tarah?
I mean, of course, at this point, I feel like I'm obligated to say Call It What You Want is vastly underrated. But I also think that it's one of those ones, too, where there's just so many people who don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Because it's very heavy. And a lot of people don't want to watch it. And then I have talked to some people where they just want to make sure it has a happy ending first, which I guess understandable. I'm not that kind of person. I don't need to have a happy ending. And also I'm used to Pyam's work at this point. So it's like if it does have like this open ambiguous ending, it wouldn't feel strange to me at this point. But absolutely Call It What You Want, I feel like is vastly underrated.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those that is it's a real life type of BL. And so not everyone loves to watch those kinds of shows, which is like silly because I feel like you need the fluff, but you also need the like hard hitting, heavy content kind of stuff.
You need that reality check.
Yeah.
Which is what it is.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I don't really watch shows while they're ongoing. That I just like I'm a binger. That's my watching style. But I will say it's a lot of controversy, and I think what I see usually is the negative side of it. So I'm super interested to hear like somebody that really likes it, because I feel like the negative stuff, like in a lot of cases, at least what I've seen, what's on my feed, what's like on Twitter and my TikTok and things like that, are kind of people that are like not cool with like the controversial side of it and are kind of going like skewing negative. And I hate that in anything, right? You hate to see that in news. You want balance. You want to hear multiple opinions, because kind of like we were talking about earlier, just because one person doesn't like something or has a problem with something doesn't mean somebody else isn't going to love it or see their truth in it or like connect with it. So yeah, I really like that this is on here, because usually you see it's like stuff skewing negative.
Yeah.
And I really want to hear like the positive, because like clearly you like it and you're talking about it as like one of your top underrated. So
yeah, absolutely. I think what a lot of people, it's because a lot of people do focus on the controversy and the negative side of it, because when it comes down to it, what it is a call out series for a lot of the industry, because it's inspired by true events and they're very difficult. And for a lot of people, they want to just go into a BL and they want to just see like the romance or the spice, and they don't want to have to think about like the negatives of the industry. And that's a lot of what this is out. And then, so a lot of people also go into it and then they say, knowing that it's a call out series, and then say, well, there's just a lot of calling out. It's like, that's what it is, though.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but there is also like, there is comedy, like there is romance, there is fluff, there is spice. Like last week's episode alone had quite a bit of spice in it. But I I would say it is a little heavier on calling out the controversy and like the problems within the industry and like the heavier stuff. I will admit that it does ride a little bit heavier on that sort of things. But also, like, at least to me personally, that's what I like about it, because I went into this with knowing that it was a call out series, and that is what I was looking for. Like, the romance and the drama and the comedy and all of that is nice, and I like being able to watch all that, and I like that that's part of the story, because those are also written very well. But the point of the series is as a call out series.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like about it. And that's not going to sit with everyone, and that's fine. Like, obviously not everyone is going to want to watch like the heavier aspects of it, which there are a lot of. But that personally, that's why I love it.
Yeah. And I think what we were talking about earlier with the fact that I think the important part is that everybody wants to talk about these things. And so if you can process them and talk about them in a healthy manner, and you're not just watching it for, to check your boxes, I think that's what's the most important. And not everybody like necessarily wants to like have in-depth, deep conversations about the shows they're watching. So when a show does come along that really causes you to think and like have a conversation about all the things that are going on, then it challenges what entertainment is meant for, right? And so I think I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Ayla, what's your next underrated?
So my next underrated is The Moment I Need You and The Moment Since. I'm kind of like grouping them together.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So here's
Star
the
Hunter
thing.
is everything.
Star Hunter is super short. And so that's why I want to like push them together, even though like it's a sequel.
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that show, but I love it so much.
I love it. I love Bank and Pawn. But the reason I think that it's so underrated, so I feel like they maybe don't get as much love as like the Kim Cups and the Baz and like, all of that, which is interesting because I think The Moment I Need You, it was, I watched that very early on in my like BL career.
Me too.
It sucked me in immediately. Literally there's like an opening scene where they're like introducing the boys you're going to meet. And Pawn's character is a bartender in the first season. And so literally the way they introduce him is they like flash to him like making a cocktail. And I literally paused, screenshotted it, sent it to Beth Ann. And I was like, this one right here, I'm already into this. Within like, it hooked me on this show so fast. Bad.
Yeah.
It's so good. And just like the quality of the acting and the quality of the storyline there. And it's just what they achieved in those like miniseries is amazing. And not enough people have watched it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
especially
it's
because
so
Pawn
good.
played a high schooler in the next series that he did.
Yeah.
But I totally believed him as a grown-up. Oh, it was so good.
I know, it was to the point because I had watched The Moment and The Moment Since so early on that by the time that Gen Y come out, I didn't even connect that Sandy and Pi were in The Moment and The Moment Since.
Yeah.
They both do such a good job.
Which I feel like if I would have remembered that and would have remembered that they were paired, it would have saved me so much emotional heartache.
Yeah, the way they play that in Gen Y
would have saved my followers so much ranting.
Yeah. But The Moment I Need You and The Moment Since. The other thing that I like about them that I think is one of the reasons they're like so high on my list is that even though The Moment Since is like a sequel to The Moment I Need You, it's not, it picks up right after, but they both have two very different and distinct vibes, even though they have like similar settings and you're continuing on with this relationship that you've already seen and established. The feeling is so different between the two of them that you really get like two different experiences watching them, which is, I think, amazing, especially for like a sequel series.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I really like because if anything, it just kind of cements the fact that these are two very different moments.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's also a Filipino BL, the first Filipino BL that I watched that has a similar setting, like in a hotel.
Meet Me Outside?
Yes. And I loved that
love that
show.
One.
Oh, it's so interesting. I love it. That plot line of like you're meeting someone at a hotel and like interacting with a staff member is such a like fun, like kind of romantic one that's just like a nice, it plays well to a mini series kind of thing that apparently.
And who among us hasn't gone to like a hotel or gone on vacation back in the day when we could go on vacation?
Yeah.
Right.
And like saw the like cute bellboy or something and you're like, right?
What does he say? Meet me outside. Like this is every guest fantasy of like the bellboy coming up and to think that entire series was an ad for a dating app.
Oh my God.
Honestly, some of the absolute best like shorts and like specials that I've ever seen are just ads.
It's I mean, so true.
Another example of that we already talked about. Yeah. Love it.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, we haven't been able to talk about this show literally anywhere, and we're going to do a series Sunday on it because
I already know where this is going.
We're fully obsessed with the series, and I have been like dying to scream into the void about the show. It's a GMM show, so it's wild that it's underrated, but it's because he's my boy.
Because You're My Boy is just, God.
Because You're My Boy, Mighty, right? The
Frank Drake.
Frank Drake.
Yeah.
It's one of those that popped up into my like feed when I was watching Our Sky. And again, because you have like Tainu and Off Gun, I feel like Frank Drake just get like pushed aside.
Yep, because you have your 5 royals, and so everyone else just kind of it's almost like they're treated like you have like your A-list GMMTV couples, and then you have your B-list GMMTV couples.
Which is so weird because Frank Drake are like an OG GMMTV couple.
Yeah, they're really early.
But they were
really young, so maybe that's part of it, that like, you know, you have an age thing where kind of like Pooin, you're like, I don't know if I really want to be watching this child. But yeah, because You're My
Boy. Is also in Because You're My Boy.
Yeah.
And he's literally 13. A child.
That was one of the things that honestly, like, I thought Fish Upon the Sky was fine. I thought it was fine. But I had spent, especially after watching Because You're My Boy, I had spent so long like wishing for a Neo Pooin.
Interesting.
Yeah, only for them to be brothers in Fish Upon the Sky. I was like, this is fine. Now I feel weird watching this because I still ship them, but they're brothers, so we're not doing that.
Yeah, we started with Futz, and so seeing Pooh and Neo as a couple, and Because You're My Boy, I like could not get behind.
Yeah, like the opposite reaction.
Once you have Louis partnered with Neo, like it, honestly, Louis
are a great pairing.
100%.
They're
honestly,
a great pairing.
Neo anybody is a great pairing.
Weirdly, who would have thought Neo anyone is a good pairing? Because I love Tanhan Chanlati, but I was like, from the minute Neo popped up on screen, I was like, him, that one, that's the one. I was like, I understand this is second lead syndrome, but I was like into it. Like, I am into the chaos.
In the like very first episode, I really did not like Neo, and by the second episode, I was like, Neo is my favorite character.
Yeah, because You're My Boy was a really interesting development. I was introduced personally to Frank Drake in Together, and Drake's character really bothers me in Together. I cannot get behind him. I did not like him. I had such a bias against him to the point where I refused to learn his name. Anytime we would talk about him, I'd be like, yeah, you know, the one with the eyebrows. Like, I could not, like, I just was not having him. I refused.
No, she like actively hated him.
Actively did not like Drake.
So
and then I watched A Tale of a Thousand Stars, and I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no, it's happening. I was like, the minute I was like, I looked him up like casually. I was like, I'm just gonna like see. As the minute I learned his name, I was like, oh damn, I was like, oh no, this is happening with Drake.
He's so funny too.
Honestly, he's so good. Then I got to know him as a person. I started actually following him on social media. I learned his real name. He was no longer eyebrows to me. And so I was like, I really wanted to watch 'Cause You're My Boy, and I hadn't yet. And then we did another episode with Jay, who's one of our other TikTok friends, and he was like, oh, you have to watch it. He's like, it's so good. He loves Frank Drake. Like, and what I love about 'Cause You're My Boy that I never would have expected is, yes, they were young in this. It's a high school drama, but it's done so respectfully. And there's never really any like crossing the line that you as a viewer like would feel uncomfortable about, I feel like.
Yeah,
but
I have such a hard time. Like, I'll watch high school ones, but they're typically not my favorite.
Yeah.
I do have a hard time watching them because it's kind of the same as how, like, I don't feel comfortable watching like Riverdale. Because I don't want to see it's one of those things where it's like, yes, obviously it's what, teenagers do it, but I still, as an adult, I feel uncomfortable.
I don't want to watch. I don't want to know that like you guys are doing it. I'm sorry, but like, so they never like really cross the line. But the chemistry that they have together, and
the glances,
the longing looks. Those two are the kings of longing looks, as far as I'm concerned. Nobody longs better than Frank Drake.
Well, part of that is Drake has said in an interview that during filming of 'Cause You're My Boy, he actually fell for Frank.
Yes, I love that behind the scenes clip. Yeah.
He's actually had a pretty big crush on Frank for a very long time.
Which is adorable. Also, Frank is adorable. We can't talk about Frank for too long because he's about to go enlist, and I have like anxiety about it. It gives me anxiety. So, but yeah, I agree. 'Cause You're My Boy. Everyone has to go watch, and just reading the synopsis, you cannot understand the magic that it is. You just
I was
throw that out the window.
Because I literally like when I watched, because I had it. It was one of those things where it's like it was on my list, but I didn't really have like a great desire. Like, I need to go watch this right now, and I was literally like talking to some friends. And I was like, I want to watch another show, but I don't know what to watch. And they were like, well, have you? And I'm like, well, have you watched like all of the GMMTV ones? I'm like, the only ones I have not. And by that point, I was like, the only ones I have not watched are He's Coming to Me and 'Cause You're My Boy. And they're like, okay, go watch 'Cause You're My Boy. Watch it. You'll love it. I'm like, I don't know. They're in high school and y'all know what. Okay, fine. And then I turned it on. I think I watched it like nonstop. Like I mean, I binged it in a day, did not sleep because I'm like, this is good. This is good. I like it a lot.
So good.
That was me. That was me. It was like 3 a.m. and I'm like texting Beth Ann all my reactions. I was like, you just have to start the show. Just start
I'm like asleep. Because usually I have seen all the shows before Ayla. So it was really weird for her to see a show that I hadn't seen first. And I was like, I'm not okay with this. Like, I need to watch this. And then like I fully went down the rabbit hole. And then I watched the Our Sky episodes. And their Our Sky episodes are like the best of all the ones that I've seen. Because
I think their Our Sky episode is my favorite.
Then like Afghan and Tainu and Chris Singto, like they don't even compare.
The chemistry is just so special between Frank and Drake. I think it's unique chemistry.
The Singto Christ one, I cried so hard. Well, because Sodas is my first series, and so I watched Sodas S, and then the Our Sky episode. Did not sleep for like 2 days. And so it's like seeing that, like, the close to like final scene.
Yeah.
Literally was on the phone with my husband, like bawling my eyes out because I'm like telling him everything that's going on. I'm like, there's only 10 minutes left. I don't see how this is going to resolve itself. I don't think anything good is going to come out of this. And I hate this. I've been through 2 seasons and a special episode of these 2. They can't do this to me. And then literally like finished. And then after I cried on the phone for like an hour and a half at like 3 a.m, then I watched the rest of the episode and then texted him back going, everything's fine.
It all worked. Okay. I feel like we should jump to our overrated series just quickly. And again, we're going to preface this by saying these are just our opinions. And you should still watch these shows. And all of mine, I will say, I purposely picked series that I really liked, but that I feel like maybe I wouldn't give a rewatch because there's just so many other shows that I feel so much more strongly about that just maybe these just didn't elicit as strong a response from me personally. But there are a lot of really good things about them. My first one, I told Beth Ann last night, I was like, you're going to be shooketh. I was like, you're not going to like this. We might fight. I don't know. My first overrated series is Lovely Writer. And here's why. I'm
about to turn this
off. I just, okay, there's a lot of really good things about Lovely Writer. I really like Cow Up. I really like the ship. There are a lot of things that I do love about that show. It's so funny. I actually love the special episode. Not a lot of people did, but I thought it was like genius. And I don't even have a problem with the ending. A lot of people had a huge problem with the way that Lovely Writer ended.
See, I have a huge problem with the ending.
A lot of people had this like really strong reaction to it. This is why it's number one on my list. Is I just didn't have that strong a reaction to this show. Like, it was good. And I like Cow Up, and there were a lot of funny moments, but like I probably wouldn't rewatch it. And there's a lot of stuff that just like doesn't stick in my memory about it. And so, I would say it's up there with like if you're gonna watch that, or you know, He She It. Like my suggestion is He She It.
See, I always cater my suggestions on like who I'm talking to at the time, because like I have friends where they're like, I'm choosing between, like, I think I was just talking to someone the other day where she was like, I'm choosing between Lovely Writer, 2 Moons 2, and Golden Blood. I'm like, watch Golden Blood. Like, go watch Golden Blood. Yeah. But then I was talking to Piam, and he was wanting recommendations on BLs. And I'm like, I actually suggested that he go watch Lovely Writer because I want his thoughts and reactions as a director.
When you were talking about Call It What You Want, I was like, this almost sounds like the antithesis to like Lovely Writer, right? It almost sounds like the opposite, because Lovely Writer is a lot of like, it's about BL tropes. That's literally the plot.
Yeah,
it's like about tropes.
It's a commentary on BL tropes and on fan culture. That's one thing 2021 is bringing us. It's bringing us a lot of commentaries.
Yeah, but it's just a little too fluffy for me. I love the fluff, but it's like almost like saccharine sweet, like hurt your teeth, sugar-coated sugar kind of situation.
Yeah, the noise effects were hard to get through.
Yeah, like my husband, I have this hilarious video of him explaining Lovely Writer because he frequently will try and watch BLs with me because he's supportive, you know, we stan. But he could not get through like half an episode of Lovely Writer because and the way he describes it, he's like, every second there's a new sound effect. He's like, there's a noise and it's distracting, which is a trope, right? Like they're confronting those tropes, but it's just a little, I just wouldn't rewatch it personally. There's a lot of good things about it. It's just not for me.
I think that's a good way to put it, is just like ones I wouldn't rewatch.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Amazing. Okay, Tarah, what's your first overrated series?
Once again, I don't like using the word overrated, but one that did not meet my expectation per se. It's still one that I would highly recommend. It's still one that I would highly recommend just because so many people love it. But I was not a fan of Together.
That's on my list. That's
I was not, and it's like that's not me saying it's bad, because I think it's good in a lot of ways. I think Brightwind did a really good job. I think everyone did a really good job. Like, I'm a big Gunsmile stan. I thought he was amazing. I loved Mike and Top Tap, but I think the problem for me personally was I had heard people talk nothing but like this was a god tier BL. It was absolutely perfect. Everyone's like, it's the standard that the LBLs need to ascribe to, and I left it going, that was fine.
Yes, that's why it's on my list too. Is I actually do really like Together, and I'm a huge fan of Bright, and I would say like, but here's why I agree with you on Together, is because if you want to get the feel of Together, literally just like go pay attention to Brightwind for like 5 minutes because they are their characters.
Yeah.
Like Bright is Sarawat. Like that's just, so if you want to know what happens, like just go watch them for 5 minutes and then you watch the BL. Congratulations.
Right,
like,
right.
like, that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I love Mike and Top Top so much that it's hard for me to watch because I do not love their relationship in that one. So it's like difficult for me.
That was honestly one of the things that really got me about the entire series too, because I think there was so much about Boss's character that was not explained. And I just didn't know if I was like, if I had missed something or if maybe it was described more in the book and they just didn't put that in the drama. But it seems like there's an entire backstory to Boss that we just didn't get. Or no, Type. I meant Type. Because that was...
and it's good. It's fine. And if you want to watch, if the reason you're watching is you want to watch Bright or Win on screen for a really long amount of time, yes, I support you. I do support you in that decision. I just wouldn't rewatch it personally. Also, because I will say, I'm like low key salty that it made me not like Drake, and I avoided Frank Drake for so long because of it. Like the number of months I missed out on Frank Drake because of this. I don't appreciate that.
Not cool.
Yeah, Together is a solid pick and a really interesting one because Together is still the most played BL online TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like it still is out.
It just got a movie.
Everyone.
And the movie was just the series recut.
I never got a chance to watch it, so I didn't. From what I understood, there was more to it. Like they got engaged or something.
Yeah,
or like
there's
they
a
become as adults.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. There's a little extra to it, but yeah, Together is still outpacing, and so it'll be really interesting because I think there are a lot of people that love Together, and I can't wait to hear people's like reactions and to tell us why. Like truly, I want to know, like, what am I missing? Kind of like you said, like, is there more in the novel that like we didn't get? Like, what am I missing here that made it not God tier for me?
Oh,
Shout out.
I mean, there's always going to be more in the novels, and like trust me, I understand that, because like one of my favorite BLs, like still to this day, is Addicted, and I know that a lot of that has to do with like I read the novels.
Yeah, because if you watch that show, I came away from that show being like, nope.
Yeah, see, I immediately went and started reading the novels because I'm like, there's not enough here. So I went and I read both books because there's 2 books. It's 2 parts because when you're looking at the drama, it only covers about 120 chapters out of the books. And the books, if you take both of them together, have over 300 chapters.
Jeez. Yeah,
so shout out a lot.
Shout out for Together. We have a listener named Air, who I know has read Together because we've talked about this. Air, if you're listening to this episode, tell us, what are we missing? Because it missed the mark for all of us somehow. Not that it wasn't good, just that it wasn't God tier. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
Let's go with it. Yeah.
So my other overrated one, which this was actually really hard for me because I actually genuinely love most of the shows that I've watched. There hasn't been one that I've gone away from it being like, I hated that. That was not worth my watch. That was not worth my time, right? I never walk away doing that. And so again, I approach this as like, what would I not rewatch? You know, that like, it was fine, but it just missed the mark for me personally. And that is Untitled Season 2 specifically. And I have a backstory for this as to like exactly, and I have a reason. My reason is, so we don't read the novels. Like I have not read the Untitled novels. So I'll preface this by saying that there's a lot about Untitled that I don't know, that I'm not absorbing because I'm going at it from the show. Yeah. So Season 2 was really upsetting for me, primarily because of the Leo Fiat storyline. I did not like how that played out. Fiat did me dirty, and I hold a grudge against him to this day. And it just like, it really made me like hate that couple. It made me not like them because they made me mad in relation to the couple that I did like, right? Like it made me mad because of their actions in that. But now I am seeing all of, again, I don't really watch shows until they're finished all the way through because I'm a binge watcher. So I'm seeing all of these clips from Don't Say No, and I really like them. I really like Jaw as an actor.
A lot of people have that reaction. I'm seeing a lot of people have that reaction where they hated Leo Fiat in Tarn Type Season 2, but then in Don't Say No, they're like, I actually really like them.
Yeah, it's so confusing to me because I fully was like, I'm not going to watch this show. That is how big of a grudge I was holding against Fiat.
Yeah.
But now that I'm seeing all of these clips and the reactions and, like people talking about this show, I'm like, wait. Also, I really like Jaw as an actor, like as a person.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is a situation, Tarn Type Season 2 specifically, where I'm like, I almost wish I hadn't watched it because then I wouldn't have this bias and I could go into it like a little more free with Leo and Fiat because now I'm like, I gotta watch this show. Like I hate that I have a bias against them because of Tarn Type Season 2. So that's the only reason. Also, I just feel like it did kind of drag a little bit in the middle because it's like, y'all, we know, like I understand there's gonna be forgiveness here and like the spicy scenes are gonna come back and it's all gonna work itself out. So it dragged a little bit, but primarily because I feel like it unfairly biased me against Don't Say No, against Leo and Fiat.
Well, that's kind of the problem. That's a lot of the problems with the second season Cursed is that it involves those storylines. And so you're just kind of like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, whatever. Because it seems like that's part of the second season Curse is that almost every time there's a second season, there is some sort of like cheating or suspected cheating. Like that's the storyline. And it just feels redundant at this point. Like there's just been so many. Like you guys can't think of literally anything else.
Any other conflict. Yeah. It's interesting because Fiat in Tarn Type Season 2, his character in relation to Type is what you don't like, what you become angry towards. Whereas in Don't Say No, he's now in a relationship. He's gotten his little like playboy like personality is being put to the side. And so he's not as much of a brat in Don't Say No.
Well, here's the thing
in Season 2, because in Season 2, it's like he's this like little playboy who just wants what he wants and he's gonna get it no matter how he does. And now in Don't Say No, he's gotten what he really wants, and it really softens his character. And Leo is just like a sweet, like affable character.
Here's the thing though, for me, with like where I say it sort of unfairly biased me against their relationship is because even though I think that Fiat was like the Earth's worst in Tarn Type Season 2 in the first part of it, he was, I can't remember if it was AJ or JJ, but he's the AJ JJ character in Dark Blue Kiss. Truly. And I hated that. I hated it when AJ or JJ did it. I hate it when Fiat did it. Yeah. But that being said, I really did not think that the punishment fit the crime. What they did to him, and the way that was handled with like that whole situation, and like Leo was in on it, and I hated every minute of that. I was like, okay, he was terrible, but like he did not, like, this is not a thing we should do to other humans.
No, you should not be, kidnapping people, which that's one of the things that, because I haven't read all the novels and I did not read the Tarn Type novels. I was going to, but the translation I found, it was the official translation on Amazon. It was just really bad. And so I couldn't read it. But that's why it's like, that's why I think like going back to the novels is also really important too, because it makes you have a respect for what actually happens in the drama, because it was like 10 times worse in the novel. Like what happened.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. And if I hated it that much in the show, I was upset about Leo Fiat on like two levels. Number one, I just like, he made me mad as like a character in relation to Type. And then number two, the fact that Leo was like then in on this like really just like horrible thing that was done to him. I was like, no, I'm not into this pairing at all. Like, I don't like this dynamic, or what I thought the dynamic was. But now I'm seeing Don't Say No, and I'm like, wait, is the dynamic like, this is
Totally
not the same
different.
dynamic I remember.
It's so different. That's why it's one of the things where I'm actually kind of excited for Don't Say No, because seeing like their character dynamics and how they've changed and how they're approaching certain situations and certain storylines, I'm actually really enjoying. Like how they're approaching something like having a promiscuous past, and then only having that past because you were just so unhappy and you were trying to fill a void. Like, I feel like they're actually doing a really good job with portraying that, and how you have this relationship with someone who seems to be like very upstanding, very wholesome, very, you know, Prince Charming. And then you have the other one who is, you know, like the campus tramp, and like how that actually fits together.
Yeah. But he loves him anyway.
Really well with that.
Yeah, it's really cute. And First and Ja are like just such. They have a cool chemistry that's enjoyable to watch. I've definitely watched a few of their interviews, and they're just like, I
just like Ja so much, even despite that wig in Until We Meet Again. It wasn't his fault.
Of all of the money that they spent on that series, and they couldn't find him a halfway decent wig.
Listen, it's like Earthspeared in A Tale of a Thousand Stars. Like, I don't know what's going on when we have to add hair.
Better than that wig. Nothing is as bad as that wig.
So we need to get something happens when we go to add hair to these boys, where they're just like, I don't know, here's a thing, maybe it'll work.
Incredible. God. Okay, moving on. So I'm going to preface this by saying this just is not my cup of tea. And I see constant conversation about this series, and people are obsessed with it and freak out about it. And I started it and could not get through like a couple of episodes. And I will say, like, that's the thing with a lot of these series. Sometimes you have to get through like 5 episodes, and then suddenly you're like, oh my God, I'm obsessed with the show. Why did I not like continue on?
Sometimes you have to try a couple times.
It's something that I brought with me from an anime, because a lot of anime because for an anime, a lot of fans will go off of what's called the 3-episode rule, which is when you start an anime, get through at least 3 in like a typical 12-episode anime, get through 3 episodes, and then if you still really don't like it after 3 episodes, drop it. But sometimes it does take 3 or 4 episodes for you to actually start getting an interest. And so I've kind of had that too, where I got 3 episodes in and just really did not like something. And I try not to drop series, but sometimes you just have to. And then I've had other series where, like 'Cause You're My Boy, where I didn't know if I was going to like it. And then by the 2nd episode, I was hooked. Like, I was in.
Okay, so the series is The Untamed. I cannot get through that series. It's just not my cup of tea. The Chinese Bls, again, like there's a lot of discourse about like, because of just the culture around BL in China, that like
the regulations, there are regulations, like you can get banned from ever working as an actor or producer ever again for making the wrong move.
Timmy Shu from Addicted was blacklisted for a very long time.
Which is wild. And now they're talking about picking up Addicted again, which is wild.
I've heard like rumors on that, but I haven't heard anything concrete on that. And even then, it's like the rumors, it was coming out of Taiwan, not China. But once again, I want to reiterate, those are rumors. Nothing concrete was ever put out.
Right. So Ayla and I are the same with the K-dramas. It's hard to watch period pieces. Like, it's just not necessarily something that I love to watch. And so I feel like with The Untamed, again, I am not into anime. And so that's just like, I feel like that like mystical kind of over the top thing sometimes is just like not my cup of tea. And so
not really into like the fantasy.
Yeah. And
honestly, I haven't even tried The Untamed, although I do want to, because
it's a lot of episodes.
That's my like intimidates me.
That's what gets people is that they're 50-hour-long episodes. And there is technically like a Wangshan cut
Mhm.
But you're going to be so confused if you try to watch that cut.
It intimidates me because I don't watch a ton of like historical dramas like across any of the media I watch, but I will do it like for if I really like an actor in it or something like that. And I do want to watch The Untamed because before I even liked BLs, before I even like had watched my first one, I saw people talking about this on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like it like transcends the BL world, I will say.
It honestly has. The Untamed has been like the entry point for so many people in BL because they watch The Untamed and they ship these characters so hard, not realizing that they are actually husbands, that they are actually in love. And it's understandable. Like I love fantasy. I love period pieces. Like period pieces, fantasy, wuxia. Those are some of my favorite genres. And so even though it was 50 episodes long, like I was still so invested. I finished it in like 2.5-3 days.
It's so intimidating to me because I'm like
so into it.
That's a lot of content, and I'm a binge watcher. So like I said, I am like you, where like I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna finish it all the way through because I'm not gonna like what am I gonna do? Not finish? Come on,
right?
So like please. So that it's like intimidating when I see that number of episodes. I'm like, oh God, like this needs to be like I've taken a like vacation from work and we have like set aside time.
It was lockdown here when I watched it. That's how I was able to do that. But then also like, of course, but also like I can't speak for other people, but like it had other interest to me too, because like I'm an analyzer. I did a lot of film analysis in college. So being able to pick up on like the little things, and like the little nods to like homosexuality, or like the little nods to them being in love. And then also I was a cosplayer for a number of years. So the costumes really drew my eye, and like the construction of them and like how they moved and how they flowed, and just the storytelling and the cinematography in general, and just like, and then also I've always been fascinated by how, if I did not know any better, I would think that Wang Yibo had like just this twin, because the idea that like you see Wang Yibo and then you see Lan Wangji and they're just two completely different people. Like being able to have like that difference is just absolutely fascinating. And so also like watching all of like their behind the scenes and watching like and that kind of thing is just really amazing to me. So I got sucked in really easily because of all those things. But for someone who just wants to sit and watch something and not have to analyze it too much, it could be a lot. It can be like there's a lot of content there. And then especially if you're not into fantasy, if you're not into period pieces, it's not going to really be your thing, and that's understandable.
Yeah, it's something that maybe down the line I'll give it another go, like to do my best to get through. But in my life right now, I need something. And that's the thing, is that like everybody approach shows differently. And so sometimes you just need to like truly escape reality and just like live in this fluffy, cloud for whatever. And so,
I really like this one because that like we have 3 very different perspectives on it, which like, but then you're like, not for me. Tara, you're like, it's so for me. And I'm like, I'm interested.
But I mean, if you're wanting something like a little bit more like simpler and fluffy, and then like, because I'm always gonna suggest historical because I love historical. There is always the Korean nobleman Ryu's Wedding, which is very simple. It's very sweet. It's very short. I always recommend that one to everyone too.
Yeah, I started that one, and I like, because I watch like 10 shows at a time. That one kind of got pushed to the back because it was on a different platform, I think, and it's
on WeTV.
Yeah, so it was something that like I wasn't really paying attention to. So I definitely need to go back because I really liked the actors that they cast for that show. And so
this is why I'm a binger. I watch one show, but I watch it all the way through. And then I don't get confused. I just get confused easily. Honestly, if I was watching multiple shows at once, I definitely would think that like something that happened in one had happened in the other. And this is for a lot of reasons, I had to watch Two Moons and Two Moons 2 like really far away from each other.
Oh, see,
for
I
a
never
lot of
even watched
reasons,
Two Moons.
but-
I just watched Two Moons too.
Oh my God. Okay. Two Moons 2 is actually on my underrated list, which we didn't really have time to get to, but it shocked me because I'm a big Two Moons fan. Because I love Kim Cup and I love Baz. Like, I am a certified Baz enthusiast. So the idea of somebody like doing the exact same thing that Baz did and then like expecting it to be as good, no. But I was very wrong, is what I will say. I am fully obsessed with Two Moons 2. I have very clear preferences, and there is a superior version. And as a certified Baz enthusiast, I'm willing to say it's Two Moons 2. Like, I'm willing to say it is Two Moons 2. It's been a long time since I very quickly have been drawn into like an actor and the way they portray a character. And Ben as Fana, as Peepaw. Yeah. I am as like Fana. In awe. I am in awe of how much more likable he makes that character. Because it just made me realize that the only reason I liked Peepaw in Two Moons is because Baz liked him. Honestly, it's because Wayo liked him. And I like wanted Wayo to have like the thing he wanted.
You know, personality does translate to the screen.
And and I will say Ben is I am just like I'm shocked how much more I like Two Moons 2. I'm shocked. Shocks me.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing. It's how you get to a drama. So like we watched Two Moons because of Gen Y. Like we fell in love with Kim Cup and Baz and all them. And so that's when I then found Two Moons because I wanted to see like what like started the Kim Cup and like all those things. So yeah, when I watched Two Moons, I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm also a Kim enthusiast.
I love these actors, but like didn't love the show. So then when you do watch a Two Moons 2, because you've watched Two Moons for the actors, you can kind of approach almost the same show with different actors in a completely different way because you're not watching it any longer for the actors. You're watching it for the characters and the story.
That's fair. See, when I went into it, I had just asked people, like, I'm interested in Two Moons, but I don't know which one I should watch, Two Moons or Two Moons 2. Yeah. Like, what is the difference? Is there a difference? Like, what's going on? And then I saw that someone had basically said, Two Moons 2 is like if they took all of Two Moons and put it in the first 3 episodes. And then you just got like more of a story. And so I'm like, okay, well, and pacing is a really big thing for me. Totally. So I read that as, okay, well, that just means that Two Moons has incredibly slow pacing. And so I just went ahead and watched Two Moons 2 and fell in love with it.
Right. Yeah. That is such a good point about that show.
Yeah, it took forever for us to get to Two Moons 2 because Two Moons was like, why am I going to want to watch this again?
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Because if Baz did something, how possibly could someone else do it better? Like, how could that be a thing?
So good. Baby Earth did so good.
Yes. Yeah. So, we call him Middle Earth because, you know, of course, there's Big Earth and then there's Little Earth, Kuhart. And then for us, we have now discovered Middle Earth.
Okay. See, I always did it like to the lineup. Yeah, see, I always did it like, you know, Big Earth. And then I always did it like you have, I call him either Little Earth or Baby Earth. Twitter tends to call him Baby Earth. I've noticed TikTok tends to call him Little Earth, or who you call Middle Earth. And then there's Kuhart.
Like,
yeah. So usually it's like I have Big Earth, Kuhart, and then Little Earth is usually what I go off of.
Yeah, love all the Earths. But yes, and I as a Baz enthusiast, I do love that I have another Earth. I love them both. I was so wrong, but especially for me, it's Ben and Pavel for me, and the way that they play those characters is so much different than Two Moons.
And I think better. So hard on those roles.
And I think it's better. I really do think that the quality and the performance and the roles, because I hate when I watch a show and I just hate a character. like I hate that. I want to at least on some level like everyone or understand everyone or have everyone be interesting to me. And I didn't get that from Fourth and Peapod in Two Moons. They were just like kind of there, and I just like did not like them. I was like, why are you even here kind of situation, aside from the fact that I wanted Wyo to have what he wanted, and that was like my only connection.
Right.
But in Two Moons 2, they both are so distinct and they play those characters so well. And I think that Ben really brings like another level to Peapod that you don't get. And also, they're love rivals in that show. And I feel like they have like really good love rival chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all do a really good job. And then actually Two Moons 2 was the first time, because it's like when it came to like other BLs, like I liked them, but I didn't, and like even the ones that I loved, but I didn't really look like too far into them. Two Moons 2 was the first BL where I was like, I have to figure out who this director is, and I have to watch everything that they've ever put out, because there was just like the language and the pacing and the chemistry was also good, and like a lot of the tropes that they used, like that was the first like Two Moons 2, like, because up until that point, up until I Told Sunset came out, Until We Meet Again was like hands down my favorite, and Two Moons 2 was the one that came to closest to like knocking that off of like the favorites podium. And so I was like, I was honestly,
yeah,
I was so surprised.
Until We Meet Again, Sammy is in both of the Two Moons, like she's in Two Moons and Two Moons 2.
Oh yeah, I knew she was in Two Moons 2. I didn't realize she was in Two Moons.
She has a bit part. She's on the screen for like 2 minutes. And so if you're a Sammy fan, which I am, I love Sammy. I think she's like my favorite friend. Her part is, she gets way more screen time. She gets a more developed character. Like she really is a part of the show in Two Moons 2, which just adds another thing that I like about it. Like, that just makes me like it even more than I did. So, and then of course she's in Until We Meet Again, where she is the best friend of all time. So that's the Sammy connection.
Okay, guys, let's wrap it up. Do we have one last underrated?
One last one to tell the people about.
Overrated. Overrated.
No explanation, just to tell the people.
Okay, I know Ayla and I will agree on this one, because when people told us to watch this, we watched it and we were like, I don't get it.
We're going to disagree. I've seen the error in my ways, but continue.
Oh, have you? Well, I have seen you kind of come around to the show, which I don't understand, but whatever. So he's coming to me. When people recommended us to watch this, we watched it, and I was like, I don't get it.
I actually haven't watched it. That is like the one GMMTV BL I have not watched yet.
This is a great way to end this then, because you have Beth Ann, who is not her cup of tea. You have me, who I have since come around. At first, I was like, this is the stupidest show I've ever seen in my whole life. But like, the more I think about it, I think about this show like probably
it's like
once a day.
Show.
It was like, honestly, it is ingrained in who I am now. And I like it. It's a fun watch. It is fun to watch. I think it's good. I like the people in it. So
I wouldn't waste my time on it. Or recommend
I know how you feel with that, because that's how Gen Y is for me. Like, Gen Y is just like ingrained in my personality at this point.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's one of those that, like, again, I would never not say don't watch a show, but I like, if you have literally nothing else to do and you have like reached the end of your watch list and you're looking for something, I would say like, wait on this, like, don't waste your time until like you have to.
Yeah.
My disagreement is you should go watch it right now, because Ghost Singto is amazing, and I think about him all the time. Also,
we love a good ghost.
We don't talk about this enough. Ghost Gun Smile is perfect. His character is wonderful.
Wait, Gun Smile is in He's Coming
Gun
to Me?
Smile is
okay, see, that's all you needed to tell me. Now I'll definitely go watch it.
Yes, and his character is so good. So you got to know, you got to yes, and then you got an interesting. Perfect way to end this episode.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on.
Truly a great conversation. It's nice to hear someone else's perspective that has different interests and different likes than, you know, Ayla and I are very different in and of itself, but like it's always fun to add another voice to the mix, which is what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, thank you. I thought, this was great. I had a great time. Thank you.
Awesome.
So tell everybody before we leave where they can find you on TikTok for all your theories.
Pretty simple across the board. TikTok is Tarah, TARAH 0717. My Twitter is the exact same handle. That one's a little more personal, not as professional. And then my Instagram is Tarah Bl.
Awesome. So we highly recommend that you go follow. Obviously, that's why we're all friends now. So thank you to everybody for hanging in with us on this very controversial episode. And we'll see you next time on Let's Talk BL.